owning rental properties can be a great way to make money. Or really, is it really? And that's the thing that we're going to talk about today on Friends Talk Financial Planning. Hi, I'm John Scherer, and I run a fee-only financial planning practice in Middleton, Wisconsin.
And I'm Bridget Sullivan Mermel, and I've got a fee only planning practice in Chicago, Illinois. John, people like rental property. They feel like they can make a lot of money at it. They feel like it's passive income. The rent shows up every month. It's an easy way to pay off their mortgage. You have had extensive real estate experience. So why don't you start telling me about the pros? What do you like about it?
Sure. Well, you just described some of them, right? I mean, rental real estate can be a great way to make money. It's definitely is. And the one thing that I caught my ear as you're describing some of the benefits is that, when it works well, that it's like printing money. The checks just show up in the mail, these days. When I was doing it, they show up in the mail, right? Or they show up in your checking account, right? You get these checks, and it just and it like I said, it's like printing money. It just shows up. It's fantastic from that standpoint. Um, but then the thing that I tell people about it, my experience at least with it, it's like a part-time job, right? Because it doesn't come without any work that goes into it. And you can hire some of the work out, but then those checks go down, right? And so I tell people, I had a client one time, an attorney, a successful person. He said, geez, I'd like to get into rental real estate and do some of the things that you're doing. And I said, well, on a Saturday morning, do you want to go down and paint the porch on your duplex, or, do work on your 8 unit, and resurface the driveway or whatever things need to go on? Or would you rather go into your office and spend a few hours doing what you're really good at doing, and some legal work, and get paid for it? That sort of thought process. So that's one of the big things that I think people don't always take into account is, people will often think about, oh, geez, I don't want to get the calls in the middle of the night when the toilet's broken, right? And like, yeah, it happens, but man, that's a rarity. It's, for me, in my experience anyway, and from the clients that I work with, it's the ongoing daily grind of owning property, right? You've got to take care of these little things over time that people think about. Your personal house, whether it's an apartment, a condo, a home that you own, there's just all the stuff that goes into it, and then multiply that, and it's not yours that you're enjoying, right? So that's one big thing for people to think about when we talk about investment real estate.
Yeah, I think there's ongoing maintenance, but I also think that sometimes people underestimate the risk involved. So, and that can be money risk, but it also can be time risk. So, I had an old landlord at my place of business, and I swear that the reason that she sold the building, she was great at keeping it up, but the reason that she sold it was because we had a really harsh winter. The
Mm.
pipes froze, this run, constant snow to be shoveled. It was just really hard. And, things were going wrong. Heat went out, all this, every problem you could have. Now, that's just a cold winter in Chicago, which happens. That wasn't a tornado. That wasn't other natural disasters that a lot of areas are subject to. That was just a regular old bad winter. It happens every 10 years or whatever. So I think that, and that's not even talking about the market dropping
Right.
or having difficulty selling. So that's my 2 cents. Is that I think that people underestimate the risks involved.
Yeah, it's, a friend of ours, both Bridges and mine, Bert Whitehead, has said that real estate has made more millionaires than any other vehicle in America, and it's also created more bankruptcies.
Right.
That I think really
Yeah.
is. You think, golly, and can that be true? And in my experience, yeah, a lot of the time it works out well, but it has some disastrous effects, or some really awesome, right? You can get rich and be a mogul, right? A real estate mogul on it, but the downside of things you really need to think about. And sort of correlated with that, but not exactly on that, is the other thing that I tell my clients is take a good hard look at the financials and the numbers, and like, what are you actually getting for your return on your investment in this property? And it all sounds good, but oftentimes when a new client comes in, when they've got rental property, we always take a look at, well, what type of return are you getting? Geez, I'm getting $1,000 a month coming in. Well, if it's a $50,000 investment, that's a fantastic return. If it's a $200,000 investment, that's not such an awesome return. And if it's $1 million investment, golly, that's a terrible return, right? And so to think about what that is, and then to consider it, and to your point on this, Bridget, one of my properties, we had to put on a roof, and it was this weird sort of deal. It was a $10,000, $12,000 expense. Well, yeah, I was making, five, six, $10,000 a year. Well, there's a year or 2 years of profits down the drain, right? So for the next 2 years, all those checks that came in went to pay off that roof.
Right.
And then, those sorts of things, those unexpected but regular, as you said, with hey, a Chicago winter, that's just regular, a roof that happens with these things. And that's the type of stuff that I think people can get tripped up on and lose sight of the fact of, well, yeah, there's cash coming in, but then it's an important thing to think about is what are the alternatives? And by that, I mean, listen, we can put money into an investment portfolio and get some return, 8 or 10 or, whatever the number is, without doing any work, right? Your investment portfolio doesn't spring a leak and doesn't need a new roof. And yeah, over time it fluctuates, but, you know, you don't have that same level of risk and an involvement in it. And so if we're going to buy a rental property, you've got to get something significantly, in my opinion, higher than that, meaning your return has to be expected to be 12 or 15 or 20% for it to be worth that risk. Right. So just exactly on your point, that's maybe the other takeaway for folks is look at the numbers, and you got to be, it's not good enough if you can get 8 or 10% on your rental property. Well, shoot, the risk isn't worth it compared to your alternatives.
Yeah. So we could do a whole nother show on how to evaluate the returns. I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
But John, you're just mentioning just like people are foggy about what they actually make. So that's another, like, how do you actually track this thing? It's
Yeah.
not just a check that you get in the mail.
Right. That's right. That's right.
So with that, I think we should wrap it up, John. Again, I'm Bridget Sullivan Mermel, and I've got a field financial planning practice in Chicago, Illinois. And this is John Scherer, and he's got a field financial planning practice in Middleton, Wisconsin. And we both are members of ACP, or the Alliance of Comprehensive Planners, which has planners all across the country that operate much and with a lot of the same philosophy that we've got.
And then the other thing, so check out acplanners.org if you're interested in finding one of our colleagues. And the other important thing is to please subscribe. When you hit that subscribe button, you can learn about future episodes, and it helps other people find this information. So help others by clicking subscribe. And with that, let's wrap it up. Thanks, Bridget.
Thanks, John.